Okay, so as trashy as reality TV can be, I've also found it to be incredibly helpful in studying human behavior. Being able to see a real person be put in a difficult situation rather than a fictional character has always been very fascinating to me. And growing up, that is why I subjected myself to countless hours of MTV brain rot. And today, I would like to revisit some things that I've learned, mostly to give some kind of meaning to the hundreds of hours I spent watching MTV, but also just to have some lighthearted fun. You know, in 2024, I really think that is severely lacking. And who would be better to start off with than the queen of my teenage years, Lauren Conrad? So Lauren Conrad first became famous off of this show called Laguna Beach, but what really catapulted her into the legend that she is today is the TV show that followed up after Laguna Beach, which is The Hills. And the show is about a group of 20-somethings navigating their love lives, their friendships, and their careers in LA. It became somewhat of a cultural phenomenon and had a significant impact on culture in general, but also just reality television. And it catapulted not only Lauren, but people like Heidi Montag, Adrina Patridge, Whitney Port, Spencer Pratt, and Brody Jenner into the limelight. And the show became more generally known for its interpersonal drama and glamorous depiction of the LA lifestyle. As the show went on, it became more heavily produced and less authentic, but that's just the typical progression of any reality TV show in my opinion. But what we're going to discuss today predominantly takes place in episode 7 with Friends Like These and episode 10, Apology Not Accepted, of season 2, which was like the peak of The Hills. And for those of you who are not super well versed in 2007 reality television, let me just set up the scene for you. Lauren and Heidi have been the central friendship of the show since season 1. However, this relationship is currently super shaky due to really disrespectful and antagonistic behavior from Heidi's new boyfriend, Spencer.
You showed up with 3 playmates. I saw you flirting with them.
I'm over you. Hang up. I'm over you. It's fine. I'm over you.
And in my opinion, it just kind of seems like Spencer at this time was just doing and saying anything to be and stay on the show, whether or not that put him in a good light. Along for the ride is Spencer's best friend and wingman, Brody Jenner, who earlier in the season had kind of a flirty type of relationship with Lauren. Following all of Spencer's drama-filled antics, Lauren kind of takes a pretty hard stance in her dislike for Spencer and openly stating, "I'm gonna be there for you when he screws you over, because he will." Heidi ultimately ends up getting back with Spencer, and with Spencer egging on the divide between Heidi and Lauren, it leads Lauren into leaning out of her relationship with Heidi and leaning more into her relationship with one of her oldest friends, Jen Bunny. And this brings us nicely to the main conflict of these 2 episodes. It is Jen's 21st birthday, and the gang is going out to celebrate. Leading up to Jen's birthday, Heidi, seemingly very pissed off about the state of her relationship with Lauren, is pushing for Jen to hook up with Brody, and Jen is kind of expressing hesitancy given Brody's earlier relationship or entanglement with Lauren. Fast forward to later that night. Basically, it seems like Jen wants to hook up with Brody, but without any real repercussions or blowback from Lauren. She does this in the sneakiest way possible by straight up going behind Lauren's back and continuously talking about it all throughout the night, and eventually just leaving with Brody, Spencer, and Heidi without telling Lauren, leaving her at the club. Eventually hooking up with Brody. And it wasn't so much the hooking up that was the issue, but the two-faced nature of it all, and Jen's willingness to lie. It wasn't so much the hooking up that was the issue, it was the two-faced nature of it all and Jen's willingness to lie directly to Lauren's face in trying to cover up her actions, which honestly doesn't really make sense to me because, you know, you're on a TV show, you're being filmed, and you're mic'd up. But to be fair, the lie seemed more like a desperate move rather than a well thought out backstabbing attempt or deceitful move, which necessarily doesn't make it better, but it's worth pointing out. This leads us to the point of this entire video, which is how Lauren handled this entire situation. And as a young person with a spine of something resembling cotton candy, it was situations like these that really made me look up to Lauren, because this woman did not take any disrespectful behavior lying down. In fact, several times throughout the show, she faced shitty situations head on in a straightforward manner, and she always did it in a very eloquent way. Okay, but let's just get down to it. How does she do this? How does she handle this entire situation? She starts out by pointing out what constitutes as a good apology, as well as create space between her and Jen, giving herself time to calm down and figure out exactly what she feels and what she wants to do going forward, while making it clear that Jen's attempt to deflect is not accepted as an apology.
No, Jen, if you're sorry, you don't sit there and make excuse after excuse. You say, I did a really bad thing, and you apologize.
And this is very important when you find yourself in a conflict with someone who you are in a relationship with, is to really take some time and let the emotions that have come up during the confrontation melt away, really sit with the situation and try to look at it critically and figure out what it was about the situation that actually hurt you and what you want to happen going forward. An undefined amount of time later, I think it's a couple of weeks, they don't really make it super clear, Jen comes to Lauren's apartment hoping to seek reconciliation, but again, she isn't hoping to actually take accountability, she's just kind of hoping to shift blame, and it seems like she's kind of banking on the fact that with enough time having passed, that the strong feelings that was associated with the whole event has died down. So she starts off by trying to minimize the situation. And the thing is, most people don't like conflict. And that is why so many uncomfortable conversations just get swept under the rug, because it's a very uncomfortable situation to be in when you need to be in a confrontation with someone who you love or care about. It's a very uncomfortable energy that you have to tolerate for an X amount of time. So most people do just kind of let things go, whether or not it should actually be addressed. Lauren, however, does not really let that happen. She shuts down Jen's attempt, and Jen continues down the path of just trying to squirm around the issue and just wanting to go back to normal. And this is why it's so good in a confrontation, again, to have given yourself some time to let the emotions die down, because you really need to try to stay present and let information come to you. It's the person who's trying to apologize, bringing forth the mistakes that they've made, giving specific instances where they went wrong or things that they feel like they mishandled in some way, or are they using very general language such as, I never meant to hurt you, etc.
I just think that what you don't understand is that I really never meant to hurt you.
Understand that the motivations for your bad actions is not a shield against the consequences of those actions. And to be honest, in my opinion, a lot of times it's completely irrelevant. So with all of the minimizing having failed, Jen moves on to the next tactic, which is to claim ignorance. I didn't know. And this might be just me, but this really doesn't track, because the fact is, the night of her birthday, she called up Lauren in a last-ditch attempt to clear her guilty conscience before doing what she wanted to do.
Are you asking me if I care if you hook up with Brody? And she was like, yeah.
And sometimes I do think that I didn't know this would hurt you excuse is legitimate. It doesn't really change anything. Your actions are still your actions, but I don't think that this is one of those times. Now, seemingly realizing that Jen is not going to deliver anything resembling a decent apology, Lauren puts it on herself to step by step point out what Jen did wrong and what the issue between them actually is.
I messed up.
I know you
one
did.
Night. That's why I'm saying it was one night.
You made a mistake that you went home with him. You made a mistake that you kissed him. You made a mistake that you stared in my eyes and lied to me about it. And then you made a mistake that you tried to blame it on every person you could.
And this is another reason why it's important to create space and time between you and the person in order to figure out what about the situation hurt you. Like I've already stated, be able to have the emotions have subsided enough for you to be able to stay cognizant about the particular words and words being used and narratives being spun. And it's not until after all of this that Jen decides to apologize in the most lackluster way possible, once and for all, expressing that she does not believe that she has done anything wrong, and Lauren's reaction is what is creating the issue.
Sorry I hurt you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Lauren delivers an equally lackluster response, And as a last-ditch effort, Jen asks if there's something that she can do or say at this point, and Lauren, seemingly fed up with the situation, understanding that she's not going to get a proper apology, ends it with this legendary line.
You've done and said enough.
Which is also very important. If it's not going anywhere, don't keep going in circles. She promptly stands up, signaling that the interaction is over, and a depleted Jen is shown out. Cue the sad music as Jen walks off. For me, the number one takeaway from this conflict is to truly understand what an apology is and what kind of purpose it's supposed to serve. And that is, an apology is not a mechanism to relieve your own guilty conscience. It's a mechanism for mending relationships with people who you care about or who you have wronged in some way. And that requires honesty and critical thinking about your actions. On the other side of the coin, if you're the person being apologized to, it is important to stay present and really listen to the words that are being used and angles being taken when the person attempting to apologize to you speak. If the person is using words like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," "I'm sorry if you think that I did that," etc., understand that that is not a proper acknowledgement of wrongdoing. This person has now showed you who they are, so just act accordingly. This does not mean cutting people out all willy-nilly. It means that this person does not believe that what they did is wrong, so you can expect the same type of behavior in the future. And now it's up to you to determine if that is something you can live with or not. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, so figure that out. And finally, I would just like to say that in conflict, it's very common that bad things are said and done on both sides. And it's therefore very important, after a big blow up with someone who you are in a close relationship with, for you to, as critically as possible, try to see what you did wrong and what you said, so you can show up to an attempted reconciliation, owning up to the hurtful things that you've done. And if you're in a relationship with other honest people, they will do the same. And that's how you mend the relationship. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Lauren's shiny backbone was absolutely one of the things that really drew me to her as a young person. So other than her impeccable style, no one could really do black liner as effortlessly as this woman. But she also had a lot of good characteristics. So it was really fun to just look back on these things and see some of the positive examples that have really resonated with me. And there are honestly way worse people to have looked up to in my adolescence than Lauren Conrad. So for that, thank you, Lauren Conrad. And that's pretty much it. I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever you're up to. Bye!